Yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our very first episode of the What's Good Games podcast. Oh my gosh, you guys, we did it! It's happening! It is our first show, and we are so excited that you guys are joining us. And you get video because we hit our first Patreon goal. Thank you so much to everyone who's supporting us on Patreon. If you guys have not checked out our page, please, sorry, it's been a long day. I flew back from Los Angeles after Destiny today. It's patreon.com/whatsgoodgames. My name is Andrea Renee. I am joined by my wonderful co-host. To my right is Alexa Ray.
Girl. Welcome back.
Hey, girl.
Thanks. Welcome back. Thank you very much. And of course, we have coming straight from Washington, Miss Brittany Brombacher.
Hello.
Is that how you're going to say that every show?
I it's a thing. I break out random accents that don't even exist. So yes, expect that a lot.
No, I'm into it. I like it. And then rounding out our motley crew, of course, Miss Steimer coming from Los Angeles.
Hello. I dropped you off at the airport. And now you're at the house.
I got to see two of you guys
Magic.
today. That's exciting. And we're all going to be together next week for our very first Twitch stream. If you guys are not following us on Twitch, please head over to twitch.tv/whatsgoodgames. We'll be streaming on Tuesday, May 23rd?
23rd.
Which is 2 days after Brittany's birthday and 1 day after mine because we are 12 hours apart.
So we will be
Party
having some
hats.
birthday drinks. I have these
Oh, yes.
amazing
Yes.
disco balls. So for those people who are listening and not watching the video, it's like a mini disco ball with a straw coming out of it, and it's
So
going
it looks
to
kind of like a coconut, but it's a disco ball.
yeah,
disco nut.
exactly. And we are going to drink adult beverages out of these at some point, starting with the birthday stream, I guess. So, ladies, it's our first podcast, and we're going to kind of go through the segments that we're going to be doing weekly. We figured the best thing to do is to start the podcast out with some video game news. Later on, we're going to get into our hands-on section and talk about what we have been playing this week. And then our third segment is going to be called kind of like our grab bag segment. If we want to feature a specific game that we're previewing, if there is another piece of media that we've seen, or if there's a specific question that we get from, the audience, from you guys who are listening out there, that is kind of going to be our variety segment. And then what we decided was that we would really like to do a fourth segment called Off Topic. We're going to talk about stuff that is not video games related. So if you're here just for the video games, awesome. We love video games. We love that you're here for video games. But we have lots of other stuff in our life that we like to talk about. So we thought we would dedicate a segment. And so we put it at the end of the show. So that way, if you guys are like, Matt, I'm out, you can dip out early. But that's the show. So let's go. You like that? It's good.
That's good.
This is too normal for me.
So how are we gonna unnormie it? What would you suggest?
Unnorm the final segment.
Yeah.
We could talk about my favorite thing, puppets.
Oh God.
Or
The giant eye roll of all of us being like, do we have to?
Anyway,
So
video game
typical.
news.
So typical.
Video game.
Yeah, so we have a bunch of stories lined out for you. My computer went to sleep. Britt, dive into the first one there.
Yeah, the first story we have is that Ubisoft has announced Far Cry 5 and The Crew 2, and they have officially announced the new Assassin's Creed, which has been leaked for how long now? A couple weeks at least.
Oh, no,
So-
it leaked, technically it leaked
2
last
years.
year. Was it 2 years?
I remember Jason Schreier wrote about and shipped Assassin's like
Yeah, it's been a while
Yeah.
since the original leak happened, but now we're starting to see, like,
The details.
yeah,
Mhm.
marketing assets that so let's start with the Far Cry news. I think this is no surprise to any of us. We knew that Far Cry was going to happen. I don't know how I feel about the kind of speculation that we've seen about what this is about. You guys, what
What
do you
is
guys
the
know?
speculation?
So wasn't there a leak or someone leaked that the game would be set in Montana? I don't know why I air quotes Montana
Far Cry,
because Montana is a real place. Montana. That it's set in Montana, but other sources are saying that they heard it's wild. So Wild West Montana, or maybe like modern day Montana. I can't imagine modern day Montana super exciting for a Far Cry. Apologies to modern day Montana.
Well, I'm from North Dakota. We're next door neighbors. I get why you would not want to be so jazzed about it.
Far Cry to me has always been about like weirdly exotic jungle or on a faraway island, somewhere that feels no matter where you go, it's dangerous. And I hear dangerous. I think
Modern day Montana.
Yo,
Maybe
there
not
are grizzly
modern
bears
day,
in
but-
Montana. Maybe not grizzlies,
but do those
there's
grizzly
bears.
bears also have machine guns and
Maybe.
Oh,
Maybe.
That would be a fantastic game. Can we make this for the
Not a
bears
bad
and
idea.
I've
bad
never
idea.
been able to finish a Far Cry title. My issue with sandbox games and games like this in general are that I lose interest because there's so much to do. And so for me to like remain super hooked, like for example, with Grand Theft Auto, I lose interest. It's too big, there's too much shit to do. But with Red Dead Redemption, the same sort of formula, but it's like a Western atmosphere, I can't get enough of it. So that's my concern. If I can't finish a Far Cry game, and I know Primal was, my fiance played it, loved it, excellent game, and all the jungly scenarios that you've mentioned, Alexa, the dangerous wildlands and whatnot. If this is in any sort of modern day setting, I'm already insta out. And I don't want to be like a skeptic and Debbie Downer, but I just can't see myself getting into it if it is something modern day or something that's not different than the day-to-day norm. if that
It can
makes
be
sense.
modern day. I just think it can't be modern day Montana.
You got to get over this modern
Yeah.
day Montana thing.
Because
But-
like the Far Cry 4 was more modern-ish day, right? But
Yeah.
it was set somewhere that was not anywhere you're gonna go anytime soon. And so that's why it was sort of interesting. And I did actually finish Far Cry 4, but I hear what you're saying, Britt, about a lot of these games being just so big that you're like, you get overwhelmed and you can't, you feel like
Yeah.
you're never gonna be able to finish it. I know, right? That's what she said. But then
Yes, the
But,
first that's what she said of the night.
the main issue I had with Far Cry when I was playing it, and I don't know if they changed it because I didn't play Primal. I get irritated when they make you go back and re-clear bases that you've already cleared, and to me it just feels like they're just doing it to pad out the content, like to make it so that the game is technically longer. And I don't like that at all. Like, if I've cleared the base, I've cleared the base. Stop making me come back every 20 minutes and help these people. They can help themselves, okay?
Sure.
Okay, I feel you there. So I have an appointment to see this game later this week as part of Judges Week, which is cool. And I don't know when the embargo is, so we might not be able to talk about it until the week after, maybe even later. But as soon as I find out what these details are, I will share them with ladies, of course, all of our fans of the show. So what about The Crew 2? Did any of you play The Crew?
Nope. Big
No,
old bag of nope.
A big old bag of nope. So I played a little bit of The Crew, and it was actually really well done. I think they excelled in their components of that game, and it got a pretty good response of the arcade genre, because it feels more like an arcade race. So I think it's no surprise that they're bringing it back. It did very well. So no big shock there. But I think the one that we really want to talk about is Assassin's Creed. So Ubisoft is nothing about this game. Clearly waiting for their big deal at E3. They even said as much when they made the announcement, like, coming to E3, you'll see more at E3. You guys think about going to Egypt? Excited? More boats and more water play?
So here's my question. Is it modern day Egypt or is it?
I mean, the whole thing about Assassin's Creed is that it's not modern day, right? I mean,
Okay.
there have been modern day components to the Assassin's Creed franchise, but like the bulk of the game is set with your ancestry
Right.
history.
'Cause
So.
I was
We gotta go back in time. Sorry.
because I was thinking
Exactly.
about this, and like modern day Egypt is kind of fraught with peril, right? That
True.
would be a really Egypt, like I haven't spent time in that part of the
Haven't spent any time there,
or
really.
with like
Anytime.
Ubisoft's games, how they do that. But I feel like the thing that's going to sell it for me is not just world building, but like the protagonist. Okay, we're gonna be twins.
It will. I'm calling
gonna
right
be
now that
Cleopatra,
it's not.
bitches.
It's not going to be a lady.
Just kidding.
There
Two
might
boys.
be a female component to the the character roster of that game, but it's Assassin's Creed. I would like super shocked if they ever put a female as the sole lead. I mean, obviously,
They did it on Vita.
yes, which was great. And, they obviously ported that to the PS4, and I thought that she was, Aveline. I thought she was a really great character. I sadly know that marketing and stockholders and like the perception of what sells in video games is probably going to prevent a female from being the cover star of a major AAA franchise like Assassin's Creed is, which is a bummer. But like, that's kind of the reality that we're in. I am hoping that a lot of publishers out there, because I know it's not developers, because I know developers are making really great stuff. The people who are really behind these kinds of decisions at the companies can see a game like Horizon Zero Dawn, how successful that was with a cover star, and say, hey, it can be done. There can be a game that has a sole female protagonist that sells millions of units, and maybe we'll see more. I just don't think it's going to be this Assassin.
Yeah, that's fair. And I also think people will not only be paying attention to Horizon, but the Naughty Dog expansion that's coming out that's starring Chloe and Nadine. Like, so that's 2 women, and it's like, well, if it's just proving that it doesn't matter what gender they are, as long as they are a good character that you can feel like you can relate to.
Yeah. In a perfect world, yeah. I'm quiet on this because Assassin's Creed and I have never really clicked. I've a few years back, I was like, I'm going to try to test out the series. So I started with the first one, got maybe 75% of the way through. And the first one's really buggy, really glitchy. It's not the best Assassin's Creed game I feel like to jump into if you're going to try to jump into the series as a newbie. But alas, I have a thing. I like to try games from the very beginning. Burned me out. I tried Black Flag for a little bit, and I thought it was a beautiful game. And I liked the idea of the ship battles and all that kind of stuff. But again, I get overwhelmed. There's too much stuff to do, and then I lose focus on the story, and then I just lose interest. But what I did hear about this Assassin's Creed is it's supposed to be a lot more like Black Flag. I think not the developers, but some person up in the development chain is behind this new one. Granted, that's just a rumor because nothing has been officially confirmed. But if that's the case, I think I'd be willing to give this one a shot.
Yeah, the thing that's always bothered me about Assassin's Creed is it's always been the controls. Like, I've always just wanted to rip my hair out when I'm trying to play it because it's trying to predict you so much, but it doesn't always get it right. And to me, that's just the most frustrating thing in the world. And I remember...
What's the last Assassin's Creed you played?
It was one of the ones in Italy. I don't remember which number.
One of the ones in Italy. All right. Steimer, that's a fair criticism of earlier Assassin's Creed games.
I haven't tried it since.
They have really overhauled the mechanics in that department, particularly with the climbing in the last couple iterations, to the point where it's gotten really easy to scale buildings very quickly. In fact, you can just hold down the button. You really don't even need to direct him, which kind of took away a little bit of the puzzle element to the climbing in some of the earlier Assassin's games, but it's no longer janky. I mean, like, I used to accidentally jump off buildings all the time.
Yeah, I was like, I want to kill myself, but not really. But God, like, it was just so annoying that I just stopped paying attention to the franchise. I remember one time, I think, I don't know, like, I ended up somehow punching myself off of a building.
What?
Like, I was fighting someone on a roof, and it was just like he swung, but the guy moved, and then I fell off the building, and I was like, I'm done. I'm sorry.
You should
one note on Assassin's Creed before we, I don't want to talk about this all night, obviously.
Yeah, we got some other news to get to.
I did try Unity, and I really was excited about the aspect of co-op, but obviously we all know how that went. Would you guys like to see co-op in the newer Assassin's Creed games?
No, because I won't play it.
Amazing. The co-op stuff that we saw in Unity, I thought was interesting. It's hard to tell. I would like to maybe implement it in a different way. Yeah. I think that if you can bring in co-op, you kind of inherently the stealth mechanics as well known for. And I don't know if that trade-off is it. I would have to see how it's done because it's, as that co-op section proved, doing co-op with friends, I mean, and being stealthy together can quite a challenge. And if you don't have a solid crew, obviously, kind of thing.
No,
so I
someone's
don't know,
gonna
like,
troll you.
for me, I'd rather see multiplayer come back and skip co-op altogether. But I don't know if multiplayer is ever coming back, which is kind of a bummer. But to me, I've always enjoyed the single player aspect the most. So as long as they nail that, really, after they're off of the guys, I think the bar is set pretty high for the not mess it up. So, but anyway, we should move on because there's a lot of other stuff I should talk about. So, the next thing I have on the list, the Nintendo Direct that happened this week. So, Nintendo came out with another presentation to talk about ARMS, their fighting game.
Arm.
Have any of you ladies gotten a chance to test out ARMS at all?
No, but I have some arms.
You do.
I test out arms every day. And one doesn't work.
Steimer +1.
So they kind of pulled back the curtain on a lot more specifics about the gameplay of ARMS, kind of like how deep you go. I'll talk a little about it here, but if you could maybe go into a little bit more section where I actually play. But essentially, they added fighters and new arena, and they kind of talked about how you can mix and match your arms with characters and how the arms are almost a set of gear that have specific attributes. And so like some arms can punch faster, some are slower but more powerful. Certain arms.
Sorry.
I know it sounds weird, right?
Some arms.
We're all cracking up. For those of you just listening, we're all laughing.
Because I'm picturing like, you know, those cutout or like paper dolls. Like I'm just picturing paper dolls and putting different, like sticking different like giant arms and then tiny arms and then like
That's almost
jelly
exactly
arms.
what it's like though, because you can mix and match arms. From the demo that I played, so for people who aren't familiar with what ARMS is, a 3D fighting from third-person perspective. So you are in an arena and you go one-on-one, or if there are also battles and other modes as well, and your character has like Linky type arms, and at the end of them are boxing gloves of various names, like the different types of arms. Exactly, that's how they move. Steimer is moving her arms in a very floaty way. And so when they punch very slowly. And so that's a really interesting way to kind of approach a fighting game. Most fighting games, the action is very quick, fast. But this is it's a different kind of technique. There are 3 different ways to play with this on the Nintendo Switch. Play with Joy-Cons as motion controls, like Wiimote. You can play with them holding it, traditional Nintendo controller, or you could use the Pro controller. And I think that's really unique because most fighting games don't have that many input controller or fights. That's it. So it'll be interesting to see the motion controls and how that affects the competitive play. And I found that the motion controls were difficult to use, but some of the people who work for Nintendo in the treehouse said, well, once you get good,
Yeah.
you'll find that the motion controls are much more accurate. You have more control, and you'll want to play with motion controls. So
I'm just wondering if people will figure out how to like not break it, but sort of break it. Like
Break
when
arms?
the original break. Oh God, yeah, we're gonna break all your arms. But no, like when you first started playing the Wii and you were like going all out, and then you realize you just need to like flick your wrist a certain way, and you get perfect every time. So
Yes.
I wonder if that's going to be an issue with balancing, especially if they do want to make this competitive at all.
it's good that you brought that up because we found out very quickly that no, you can't cheat it like that, like you would with the Wii, because you have to follow through. So when let's say I'm holding the Joy-Con, if I'm punching with the left arm, I have to move my hand. So I can't just like flick my wrist.
Oh wow. Okay.
The Wiimote. Instead, you have to like almost like your like shadow box punch, and then if you move your arm afterwards, almost like a hook in boxing, you can actually make your arm in the game curve after the fact.
But now
So-
I'm wondering how many people are gonna throw out their shoulders doing this.
Well, that's a good question.
Because it's really
Sounds
not,
like me.
it's not
Already
good to
halfway
punch
there.
the air. Like it's not like you need to have impact on something.
a-
Anyways, be careful when you're playing this game,
Yeah.
everybody.
But anyway, I don't want to go, too much. But I was intrigued.
By arms.
Yeah, that's what I'll say. So Britt, as our resident Zelda fangirl,
Hello.
what do you think about this next news? Nintendo reportedly developing a Zelda smartphone game.
It makes me nervous because I think of Zelda, especially with the launch of Breath of the Wild. I think of these sprawling environments. I think of these intricate dungeons, like this exploration, these epic combat, and I don't see how that could possibly translate well onto a smartphone. If I think about games like Mario and Fire Emblem, like I feel like that's easily done on a smartphone. Sure, simple enough, you can do whatever you want. So unless Nintendo goes with the route of like a Link to the Past or a Link Between Worlds, where it's kind of like a top-down something or another, or just like a whole bunch of mini games, I might be able to get by with that. But if they take the Zelda name and just use it to make money and deliver a shit title, I'm going to be very irritated. That's where I'm at. I'm just hesitant, very hesitant.
Zelda Doodle Jump.
Oh.
Well,
Just kidding.
I'm with you, Britt. I also, when I saw this news, I was not thrilled in any way. And not just because I'm not like a big Zelda fan. I think Zelda's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just I'm a Mario girl. But after what they showed with their Mario iOS game, I was incredibly disappointed. So like the idea that they're going to take Zelda and also translate it to a mobile experience, it's like, well, your first outing kind of left a lot to be desired. I don't know if I'm going to want to pay $10 or however much charge for a Zelda game, have the microtransaction problem that Mario did.
Well, I think Britt nailed it on the head. Like, past from series, like you have something cuckoo, something like, or I feel like that. But I honestly, Zelda, out about a month, but Fire Emblem has download Mario, but it has like times revenue for people.
Because it's engaging. Yeah.
So I feel like they twice, like Zelda. Breath of the Wild just came out. Are benefit out, but again, it's like Zelda Flappy Bird.
Oh God, that
would be the worst thing of all.
Busting down the doors to Nintendo. But yeah. So I mean, I think the minigame thing could be really fun. Kill the cuckoos, smash the pots. You I don't know, but I'm like you, Alexa. I'm hesitant. I'm remaining hopeful. I'd like to think Nintendo knows what they're doing, but I don't even think Nintendo knows what they're doing half the time.
What if it was a Link dating?
Ooh. I'd play that.
Legend of Zelda Otome game.
Yeah, I don't think we know anything else about this Zelda mobile title at all, so there's not a lot to go off of.
Yeah, no, it was just a story that the Wall Street Journal reported on, and other outlets. But speculation, always a fun time.
Yeah.
So in other news, public passes to E3 are sold out, ladies and gentlemen. If you did not buy your pass and you wanted to go, now you have to buy it from a scalper.
Or you have to win
$1
million. So we are super excited about E3. We'll be there, coverage guys, and hopefully, if some of you out there listening have passes, if we can make that happen. But what do you ladies think about open public? I know Britt, you made a statement about it when the announcement originally happened. Now seeing that it's sold out, are you like super excited about it even more, or are your feelings the same? Ladies, do you have any thoughts?
For me, so here's the thing, like being a one-woman operation, E3 is kind of like a pilgrimage, right? The first time you earn your E3 media badge, you just like, yeah, this is effing awesome, I made it. So I can see, so from that standpoint, it's not, I don't want to say it's disappointing, but it's kind of like, you should really work hard to get your media badge. That said, I feel like people can still work hard and eventually get their media badge. Now it's just easier for them to get the coverage that they may need to build their credentials by having access to E3. When I started, it was a much different area or industry in terms of, it was easy to stand out. Nowadays, it's hard to stand out. So if this helps people get their foot in the door, and that public passes help people like realize this is what they want to do, I'm all for it. Personally, when it comes to appointments, I don't think it's going to cause any issues. I think foot traffic might be a little heavier, but if you're covering E3 as media, you have appointments, you have meetings, you're going to be fine. That's just my opinion, my humble opinion.
Yeah, and I don't think. Oh, go ahead.
Go. You go, lady.
Well, I was just saying, like, the only truly, well, actually, no, I've been to both TGS and Gamescom, which are like entirely public shows. Well, TGS has 2 private days and then it has public days. And honestly, I've never been so scared for my life than on the public days of those shows. Now, E3 hasn't gone like that. It hasn't sold that many tickets like to be on those levels. But the first panic attack I ever had was on the TGS show floor, trying to walk from like someplace where I did have an appointment, and I just couldn't do it. I was like, I had to get out of there. Again, I don't think that'll happen anytime soon, but it was just.
Do you know how many people were at that show? I'm legitimately curious.
I don't know the number, but they were packed, and I was really scared.
Okay, because I know E3, they're with the 15,000 public tickets, they're expecting maybe 75,000 fans, which is on par with PAX, your typical PAX show, which isn't that bad.
Yeah. It's not that bad. And then also the other thing to note is companies are sort of starting to move outside of it anyway. So EA, like they're not where they used to be all those years, and they're outside of the convention now. So I'm kind of wondering, like, I'm really curious to see what happens to E3 in general, because I just think the industry's changing and companies are changing their approach, and I don't know what's going to happen.
Like everything else. So like as websites are no longer they're no longer the final Brittany said you
Right.
paid and badge got in. Like I feel like companies say great. So I feel like it's natural. I'm sure traffic probably bad. I guys went for public, but I'm going to judge how the press. I'm going to hold off judgment till after the cry.
No crying.
All right. So our next story, Steimer, might have some interesting thoughts about this next story. So this generated quite a bit of buzz this week. So Netflix has announced they produce The Witcher TV series, new show based on the saga, the 8th novel. Andrea Sapkowski. Did I say that right?
I mean, ish, yeah.
I mean, how do I say it? You've been to Poland.
I have been to Poland. That doesn't mean that I can pronounce their name.
Come on, Steimer, let's hear it.
No. Everyone will judge me. I don't want that. But I'm really glad that he's part of it, because I was a little bit uncertain of whether or not they're just going to take the books, or whether or not they were going to try and base it off the games, or what they were going to do. But the fact that he's on board as like a creative consultant, I think that means it's going to be good.
I bet he's excited too, because he doesn't get any money for the game series at all. So
right.
Finally,
now he's like, "This is mine, bitches."
Yeah.
I was talking about Netflix with some people at event today, and kind of saying, like, do they do anything wrong? And of course, the pros was out Iron Fist as an example of something wrong. But I mean, overall, I think Netflix scored a lot of home runs in the department, even in their adaptation. So I think, because of our audience and how video games tend to watch a lot of Netflix, I don't know why they necessarily go hand in hand. I think it's a really good idea for branch really explore, because I think a series lends itself to better storytelling opportunity for a video game than an adaptation, as we saw evidence pretty much every video game. It just
well, to be clear though,
the
this is not
constraints of time just aren't beneficial. But to be
Right.
clear,
But this isn't adapting the video game. This is adapting the
The
novel,
novels,
which came
yeah.
before the video game ever existed. So it's not. I mean, I'm a little more concerned for gamers who don't quite realize this is what I'm concerned, because I'm wondering if they're going to get into it and be confused. And I mean, the characters are the same, but they're
The
all
relationships between
relationships
the characters are vastly different, right?
Yeah. So I do think I'm just interested to see how this will go. Basically, I'm going to be in the back eating popcorn.
Have you
Don't we
read the
all?
books?
I've read some of them. I haven't finished all of them.
Okay. Which one has more banging?
do they all have banging? Should I read
mean,
this series?
Genuine question.
No, it is a good question. I don't think there was that much sex in the ones that I read.
There's
A
some.
rat.
There's some, but it's not like, I mean,
Well,
the
this is gonna
games
be
are
a
like
boring series.
softcore porn, you know? But Netflix doesn't do that much. Like some people I remember seeing on Twitter, they were like, I wish it was HBO because we'd get the nudity. And part of me is like, just watch porn.
If they want boobs,
Just watch porn.
I mean,
I just want Geralt.
there's got to be Witcher porn out there.
Yeah, girl.
Overwatch.
Oh, I haven't Googled it, but I'm certain that there is Witcher porn out there.
I mean, of
Find
course
it,
there
but I
is.
wanted
There's like porn in the game, pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Just make those cuts
but-
over again. Yeah, in
But
real
this
life.
is kind of exciting, and we'll obviously have to wait a bit if this is coming sometime.
I'm
um,
excited to see whoever they cast.
Yeah. Who would you pick? Who would you pick?
I've no
Maui
idea.
is his name Maui, the cosplay god who's like makes the best Geralt ever?
You
Christine?
mean Ben?
Is that I don't know, what's his stage
His
name?
real name is Ben.
I don't know him like that.
I actually don't know what his cosplay
I think
is.
it's Maui cosplay. It's something like that. And he's
Yeah.
the professional
He's
Geralt cosplay I'm sure you've seen.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful man.
Anyway.
He doesn't just do Geralt. He does Solid Snake as well. And he does the guy from Dishonored that I can't remember his name right now.
Oh,
Yeah.
There you go.
Corvo.
what do you think?
What, to play Geralt?
Yeah.
I don't know. What's taught me, what my experience in video games talking to voice actors taught me is that movie studios and TV studios very rarely actually pick the person who would be good for the role, or
True.
who has voiced the role, or who has played the role. They are
Mhm.
always like, oh, I'm going to pick this other person for various reasons. So, quite frankly, I don't know. I don't really have a dog in the fight. I think The Witcher is a great series. I haven't read the books. I would like to. I love it. So,
Club.
but I just started the time over again. Why?
Ooh.
I don't know. I just kidding. Love this. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see who they pick. Maybe you guys are listening, watching, can leave us some comments and let us know who you think that they should pick, or who you'd like to see that role, and chat with you about it.
Yeah.
Comment. So
Yeah.
last news piece, since this segment is running way long. South Park, The Fractured But Whole. Go ahead and
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't
Nice.
say it without smirking at least a little bit. Finally has a release date.
Well.
This game has been delayed. What is it? Fourth time now. Its
So,
release date
Yeah.
is October 17th, 2000. This fall, Ubisoft has said it is coming. Some of my other journal buddies are like, nope, definitely not coming. I was like, I don't know. I feel like the first time they've given a firm date. I guess that's not true.
Yeah.
They had a January
No,
date.
They had a
last
date.
year, last
They had
year,
a December
Just
date
kidding.
at
Yeah,
E3.
December.
So
Yeah.
and then March.
yeah.
So
They were like, LOL, just kidding.
But-
I've heard some little birds out there that
your sources?
my sources, I got some sources, some little birds out there that it's just been a really long development road, and then there's been a lot of creative changes working with not that Matt and Trey are hard to work with. I've heard it's been fine, but I've heard that there's just been a lot of last minute changes in terms of where the story is going and what they're doing with it. But everyone I've heard from says that like the mechanics are like down and have been down for a while. It's just wrapping the package. If that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
that makes
Wrap
so
it
much
up.
sense.
Wrapping the package. Okay.
gonna talk
Yeah,
about
no,
South
that
Park.
makes sense. I mean, I think fans of the first game are happy to wait as long as, Trey and
So
Matt
long
need
as
to
it
wait.
runs more
Yeah.
smoothly. That was my only issue with the last game, was that it was really choppy, frame rate wise. So if they just fix that, just keep them coming. I'm good.
Sorry. Sorry.
Have
I'll
any
stop.
of you gotten to play a demo of it yet?
No.
Yes.
Oh, wait, yes, I played a demo of it like last year
Yeah.
at some point. And it was interesting. The way that they have really expanded the combat in the game makes it, I think, much more engaging from a turn-based RPG perspective. I don't know what you thought about it, Britt.
Yeah, I like the combat, definitely a lot more strategy involved with it. And it's funny because the Stick of Truth, even though it's a South Park game, it was actually a really good game. It was super good. And so I think there's a lot of, I don't know, pressure, but there's a high bar that they have to meet with this. And I think improving the combat like they have is a great first step. When I demoed it, I did the Nozzleless Rift, the little fart thing that went.
Oh,
yeah.
no, they tried to get me to do that, and I said, no, absolutely not. You're out of your mind.
No, I used it, and it was pretty bad. It smelled like rotting vomit. But the demo, I mean, this was like a long time ago, so I don't remember too much of it. But I remember walking away thinking, "Come now," like I want you now, because this, like you said, the third or fourth delay, and I think it's going to be a fantastic game, and I'm just so jazzed for it.
Yeah.
So excited.
Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed that it actually comes out this fall.
Yeah.
And that'll wrap up our first segment. Ladies, we did it. We made it through.
Hey!
A little long. Sorry about that, folks. Won't normally be this long, but there was a lot of news to get through. And now we're going to take a really quick break, and then we are going to get into what we've been playing in our hands-on section. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody, to our second segment of the night. First off, can I just say how awesome is our podcast music that Mr. Dale North composed for us? Pretty great, right?
So good.
It's
Yay,
amazing.
Dale. Awesome. So catchy. It's so catchy.
Every time it comes on, I just immediately start dancing. Just
It's good
dancing.
stuff.
So this is our segment where we're talking about what we're playing and what we have played, whether it be a game that's currently out or a game that we have previewed. And I would like to start with. Let's start with Alexa. You're playing Fire Emblem Heroes.
Yes. Still. Fire Emblem Heroes, mentioned earlier on this podcast. I've been very busy as of late. I've had stuff going on. I have a book coming out in a few months, so I've been spending a lot of my free time editing it. Just dropping that in here. I wrote a book about Kingdom Hearts, but more on that later.
You can pre-order this book.
BossFightBooks.com or Amazon.com. It's on Amazon now.
Yeah.
So you can pre-order it digitally or physically.
Legit.
We'll drop a link for you that in the show notes for you guys if you're interested in pre-ordering Alexa's book.
And after you can read it, and when you disagree with me, we can go fight about it at PAX. But I've been really busy and I've been running around a lot. So the thing that's been the one gaming thing that has been around me consistently for the past couple weeks has been my phone. And on my phone, I have Fire Emblem Heroes that I've already sunk. If you listened to me on the 8-4 podcast, over $100 in microtransactions in an effort to get one character.
How many dollars?
Wow.
I think I'm at 160.
Wow.
What?
You're a whale.
I've bought this game several times over. If it was a real game, that sounds awful. If this was
awful. It is a real game. Don't be that person.
If it was a 3DS game, which is what Fire Emblem is typically on, I would have purchased it 4 times by now because they're about $40. So
that's how they get you.
That is how they get you. I love strategy games and I love the Fire Emblem games. This game doesn't have any. Fire Emblem Heroes does not have any of the story elements that I really like to dive into with the regular Fire Emblem games. It's just small. It's a small story, very simple through line, like point A to point B, and then you have all these maps. And there's 3 different difficulties, and I crunched through all of the available maps in like the first week that it was out on the market, but Nintendo keeps releasing special maps where you can recruit certain characters, or special challenges where if you overcome them in a certain way, maybe with like a certain class on your team or on a certain difficulty, you get rewards that can then help you level up your characters or upgrade their rarity, or just in general make your team a little bit more badass. And I have been completely sucked into it because what started out as an obsession to get my husbando, talking to me from Fire Emblem Fates, then I sunk $160 into, became this, it became the thing that I go to in the morning on my commute, or when I come home and I'm laying in bed and I'm winding down, I'll just play a couple maps. I really like the simplicity of just solving a puzzle like before I go to bed or when I wake up in the morning, and it's become my thing. And now I have Fire Emblem Echoes sitting on my bed at home waiting for me to come home and make sweet love to it. But it's just I can't stop playing it. Have any of you like tried it?
No.
Looked at it?
But I saw it on your phone when I was
you
up.
Did see it on my phone in between.
Yeah, you showed me the guy with the pot on his head.
Oh, sweet baby D.
Oh, is that your husband? Is that the guy?
No.
I don't
Trash
have my
boy.
husband. I have.
Oh.
I
You're
have Trash
still
Boy.
missing your husband?
I'm still missing my husband, but I have Trash Boy with the pot on his head. He's now a 4-star because I've spent something like many hours and like 3 million gems upgrading him or something.
Wow.
So.
Does the pot upgrade to something better? Is it like a crock pot now?
You're like the
Like a
crock pot on your
Pokemon.
fridge.
Yeah, like that.
That's
Oh
an
my
idea for a
gosh.
character of the crock pot. I'm done.
Well, if you want to
No.
get addicted and spend a bunch of money on a mobile game, Fire Emblem.
Pokemon Go.
Well, it's just because she's trying to
Pokemon
find a
Go.
man. She's trying to find her
Well,
husband.
Well, yeah. I need to find my husbando, and then once I get him, I'll probably never play the game again. Is what's gonna happen. So
Yeah, you'll
Yeah.
burn out. You'll burn out eventually. I had that with a mobile game, The Hobbit: Kingdoms of Middle Earth.
Oh yeah.
I spent a lot of money on that game as well. Yeah, about the same as what you spent, maybe a little more.
What made you stop?
It was too many hours in the day. Like, it was distracting me from my actual work, and I
know the
couldn't
feeling.
keep up. And I was part of 3 different alliances, and the demands of my alliance members became too much, and they were always on our line. So, like, the Line app is where we would talk about, like the moves that we were making and what purchases we were doing, because in that game, if they would do these specials where if somebody in your alliance bought like a large pack of like in-game resources, like spent like $100 on the giant pack, everybody in your alliance would get a $25 pack. And so we would we would rotate who would spend like the big money so that everybody could share in the
little money.
Yeah, exactly.
Damn.
Dang.
So it just became too demanding, and like the person that used to run the alliance, I could step down, and there was this new person running it, and I didn't really like them very much, and they were like, hey, if you don't have these kinds of stats, you're at risk for being ejected from the alliance. And
Oh
I was
my
like, this-
God.
come
I was like, this
on,
is
Bob.
getting
Serious business.
I was like, this is getting too serious. I played this for funsies, and you guys were cool for a little while, but now I'm done. Now I'm done with it.
But
So.
you probably like Fire Emblem because you don't play it with other people. You play it alone.
She's
Yeah.
trying to convert you.
Okay, you can maybe try to sell me this after the show, but right now, I don't know.
Not having it.
So, Britt and Steimer, you are both playing Persona 5 right now.
Yeah.
Nothing compared. Yes. God,
So,
it's such a good game. That was my song.
How far along are you into the game? Which season are you in, or whatever?
I just crossed 102
What is it?
hours.
What month?
No,
How is it?
say what
Days?
date.
I don't know.
Say what
I
the
haven't
date
played it
you're
yet.
in, right?
December.
Oh shit, you're in
15th.
December?
Yeah, I'm 102 hours into this bad boy. Like,
Okay,
I'm
I'm in October.
okay.
Very, very beginning of October.
So I am way ahead of you. I won't spoil anything because spoilers
Yeah.
suck. But Christine, I'll let you start because
Oh, because I'm not as far. The one thing that I'll say, it's not spoilery at all, but I will say that I've been super impressed with the variety in the dungeons. So if you go back and play Persona 4, a lot of the dungeons are, I mean, they're fairly similar in layout and style, and like they're reskinned very differently, but the way they do them in this game, in Persona 5, they're vastly different. And I was just like, holy shit. Okay, why are you laughing? I see it.
She's laughing because I dropped my laptop on the table and it probably made a big thud in the microphones. Sorry.
It did. We thought it was a body.
I was like, am I saying something funny? I'm just talking about dungeon design. But yeah, so I don't know. Britt, do you agree, disagree?
I do. No, so I can't. Yes, the dungeons, I don't want to say anything because I don't want to spoil anything. Yeah, but they're
you can just talk about
each dungeon has its own theme and its own mechanics, and that is definitely, it makes the dungeons much more enjoyable to traverse, and you will spend several hours in each dungeon. So that's good and all.
Yeah, and it doesn't follow the same formula, which is what kind of what I'm getting at. So it's not like you always enter and like go to level 3 and then like something happens and then we go to level 6 and something like that's not how it is at all, which I really actually liked a lot.
So I love Persona 5. Hold on, sorry, real quick. I love Persona 5 so much. It's like I can't stop playing it. I would play it all day if I could. So there's no argument there, and I think the majority of people agree. But Christine, like where I'm really curious to hear your feedback on is with the characters and the writing. Because until so a little while ago, I don't know if you guys remember this, there was a big hubbub about Persona 5's writing and the, Alexa, you probably know more about this, but the translations from Japanese to English. And once I read that, I think it all kind of clicked with me because even though at that point I was like 80 hours into the game, I didn't really feel any connections with any of the characters, and I couldn't quite understand why. When I'm playing a BioWare game, within 20 hours, I'm immediately like, I'm drawn to these people and I just want to like know every like aspect of their life. But with Persona 5, even now 100 hours into it, I really don't care. So Christine, do you find yourself feeling that same way, or are you super attached to the characters?
I'm not attached to most. Well, there's some that I appreciate more than others. I think Makoto's awesome. I also feel for Futaba. I really like her. I just got the new chick and I already forgot her name. So that tells you something.
Haru?
What?
Haru?
Yes, Haru. And I think I like Yusuke, but that's mostly because it's voiced by Matthew Mercer. And so I'm like, oh, I know him. That's cool. It's been a while since I've even gotten to play it, honestly. It's been a few days. It's been like actually like a week. So things are a little fuzzy on that end. But yeah, it's hard for me to say yet. I want to finish the game and like really, because I played Persona 4 3 times. So I'm obviously very attached to those characters because I spent 300 hours with them. And I don't want to judge these characters yet without doing the same kind of a thing, you know?
No, that makes sense. I think Persona 4's characters, they were much more distinct. And I read this in the article, and it raises a really good point that if you read a line of dialogue, you'll know immediately which character it was from because of the certain quirks and slang that character uses. Whereas if you look at the dialogue in Persona 5, a lot of the characters are indistinguishable between their dialogue. It's hard to tell who said what.
I don't know that I agree with that.
Oh, really?
I mean,
really?
Because
really?
I'm feeling like such a dick right now because I can't remember the blonde kid's name who's like the first guy you meet. Ryuji. Oh my god, I'm like, I see you and you annoy the shit out of me all the time. I hate him so much.
He's a special case. I agree with him.
Like he's very distinct and to me extremely abrasive, and I don't really enjoy him as a character. And Yusuke, he's very melancholy, right? Like he's just sort of chill. Like
I feel like if you were to look at like Yusuke and Makoto and like look at their lines, we don't have to get this big Persona discussion, but it's just a point anyway.
No, I can see what you're saying with because Makoto and him are very formal. So I could see it technically, if you took out some of their lines of dialogue that were just text, you might be like, well, it could be either of them. Toss a coin.
Yeah. Anyway.
So my question for you two, I already know my answer, but I wanted to ask you, Andrea, have you played a Persona game?
Nope, never, not once.
Would this be a good game for someone? Do you think that this would be a good entry into the series for someone who has never played a Persona game or a Shin Megami Tensei game?
Do they like JRPGs?
No.
No.
Then no. Don't play this game.
What about yes? No.
If yes, then I would
so.
say give it a shot.
What I tell people is it's quirky. It's unlike any other JRPG you've probably played before with the calendar system and how you have to manage every day and build up your attributes and build relationships. So that part of it is fun. And even if you don't like JRPGs, because I mean, the combat and the dungeons are an integral part of Persona 5, but it's not the main focus by any means. So you might be able to find like you enjoy spending your day as a school kid, and then the dungeons are just a side piece.
Yeah, that's side ass. No, but
Okay.
Oh my god.
Anyway.
But Britt, I wanted to actually talk with you. And Alexa, have you played it at all? You played
Yeah,
it.
I'm about 35 hours in.
Okay, cool. So something that I find might just be me, and so that's why I want to like get your guys' feedback. I've found myself not enjoying Persona 5 as much as I think I would because I'm stressing myself out about the time management because I've had to play Persona 4 3 times. And so now I have anxiety every time I can't do something in the evening and Morgana tells me to go to bed and I want to punch the cat in the face.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, no, I have things to do. I should stay up late and like make some lockpicks, or I should be reading this book, or like. So
Doing
I don't know
laundry.
if you guys feel that way or not.
I do. I feel like the time management, I feel like they went with at the risk of elongating this a little more, and then we can wrap this up. But I feel like you hit it on the head. The time management in that game is stressful. Between Morgana telling you to go to bed and like cutting you off at the end of the night, and you have to do your homework, do laundry, do all this other stuff, and then these dungeons that take like many, many in-game days to complete. I feel like I never have enough time, which is why I've walked away from it, because I don't play games to like get more stressed out. That's what I have a life for.
Right.
I just don't. So like
Fair.
maybe it gets better after 35 hours. I don't know. But
No,
once we all finish
still stressed out.
once we all finish it, we should definitely talk about it, and maybe
Yeah.
Andrea can play a little bit with us.
Yeah, maybe, and we can stream it or something.
Yeah.
So I know you both have been playing some other stuff too, but I really wanted to talk about Dreadnought. So I got invited by Greybox, the publisher of Dreadnought, to come and play this brand new PS4 exclusive mode that is going to be launching. So if you guys aren't familiar, Dreadnought is a game created by a studio called Jaeger. They have made some other games that you might have played. A lot of people know them from Spec Ops: The Line. Dreadnought is not like that game at all. This is a multiplayer-focused game because it is multiplayer only, and it is essentially a hero shooter with spaceships. So it's not just like your average spaceship. It's obviously Dreadnoughts, very giant, big spaceships. They do have some smaller, more agile ships in the game, but I mean, the real stars of the game are these big, bulky, warships essentially flying through the sky. So have any of you played Dreadnought? It's been in closed beta for a while now. It's going to go into open beta soon, and they've been showing this game for about 2 years now.
I've seen it. I have the code. I just haven't played it.
Yeah, I haven't played it either. And when you just seeing the word Dreadnought, my mind doesn't go to space. My mind goes to like pirate or like real ships in the water.
Real ships.
Real ships.
Real ship. I mean, like a spaceship is a real ship.
It is a real ship, but they don't really exist that way yet.
Okay, maybe just agree to disagree. What's interesting about this game versus other kind of space combat games that are out there, games like Eve come to mind as like a big example, is that this is more of like a drop in, drop out kind of experience. You don't need to put a lot of time into building a strategy, into customizing your ship. There is customization, and once you start to play it a little bit more, there will be modes that require certain levels of strategy involved. But what's kind of fun about it is that you can kind of just jump into like a team elimination or team deathmatch mode and pick one of the ships from I think it's 4 available classes. And then you just kind of jump in there and go for it. The first time I played this game, I did not like it. Full stop. Was not interested. Did not care. I was like, spaceships aren't my thing. And then I went back and tried it again the second time over a year later. So clearly, several advancements were made in the build of the game. And I found myself, really having a good time with it. I think like most multiplayer games, you need to practice a little bit to really get a good feel for how the mechanics are going to work. And when you play a multiplayer game and you die a lot, it's frustrating and it's easy to immediately stop liking something because you're like, this game sucks, rage quit.
Because I suck at it, so it sucks.
Yeah, exactly. and it's an easy trap to fall into. I personally have fallen into that trap, and it's just
absolutely.
you just got to practice. And so I practiced a little bit and played a few rounds, and I had a really good time. And the new mode that I got to play is called Havoc. And it's essentially like horde mode in space. So you have a team. It's 3v I guess you could call it. It's a PvE mode where essentially you and your teammates take on waves of ships, and it's endless. It's endless waves. And so there are boss waves, and there are a variety of different objectives in certain waves. And it was a really great way to kind of get a feel for the space combat without, going straight into a PvP experience. And this is available on PC. So if you guys are PC players and you want to give it a go, I believe I'll look it up when the open beta it goes live. It might actually be live now. They were in limited closed beta before. Actually, it is live right now. I think what they told me was that it was like a soft launch. They didn't like promote that it was open. So like if you guys are interested in checking out, a space hero shooter and you are playing on PC, it's coming to PS4 soon.
When you say it's like horde mode, do you mean at all any of the traps and strategy behind that? Because that's what I think of when I think of Gears. Like I think Gears of War horde. And I think of like, okay, we have to like build defenses around this one area because they're coming that way. Is it like that or no?
No, so there's no like tower defense element to the game at all. There is just, protecting each other and surviving the waves.
Okay.
And so you have different types of ships. So what's kind of neat about it is that once you die in the game in Havoc mode, you become a different type of ship. So like, let's say you pick, for example, like an artillery cruiser at the beginning, and which is like the sniper class, and you die, you get killed by an enemy in one of the waves, you then become a smaller, more agile ship. They becomes more of like a support character until the next wave, and then you respawn as your original ship. But it's an interesting idea that it kind of teaches you to be strategic and to be a little bit more defensive in your combat, because you want to keep your original ship because that's the more powerful of the ships. But the little ones are kind of fun to zip around in, but they're really squishy, especially when going up against some of these bigger, spaceships that you could play against. But I had a good time with it. So if you guys want to check that out, you can head over to graybox.com and check out Dreadnought. So, cool. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about was Prey. So I finished Prey.
How long was it?
So I went start to finish with like, I'd say probably 80% of the side quests in 27 hours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's a decent sized game.
I will say I played it on easy difficulty because I started on normal, and then I thought I was going to throw my controller against the wall, and so I dropped it down to easy.
Oh.
And it still was really difficult. Probably the most difficult time I've had playing a game on easy in like recent
memory. Why that was? I haven't played it, so when you say that, I'm intrigued. Yeah. I'm like, why? What's going on here?
Yeah,
that hurts my heart because I suck at shooters real quick, and so I always play on easy mode. Full disclaimer. And so for you to say that, and I'm sure you're 10 times better at shooters than I am, I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do.
Well, here's the thing though, is that Prey really isn't a shooting focused game. So it is a first person game. So for people who aren't familiar with Prey, it was Bethesda's new game that came out that was developed by Arcane, the same people who made Dishonored. And it features a protagonist named Morgan Yu. You can choose to play as a female Morgan or as a male Morgan, which is cool. They let you pick your gender at the beginning of the game. And you wake up on this space station and you discover that your brother and you have kind of been doing this experimental testing with alien technology, and it has gotten wildly out of control. And what you spend most of the game doing is exploring the space station, Talos 1, and trying to put the pieces together for what is this technology, what can it do, why is it so dangerous, what happened. to all of the different people who were aboard this space station with you. And it's got this really kind of dark, gritty vibe. And when I played this game a couple times in preview builds before I played the final, game, which is out now. And I didn't really think, a lot of people were saying that it felt a lot like BioShock in a lot of ways. And I didn't think it did until I got about 10 hours in. And then I was like, wow, it really feels like BioShock now without the really fantastic shooting elements that BioShock had. So there are, you have your basic guns, you have a silenced pistol, you have a shotgun, and then you eventually will get like a stun gun as well. And then there's a bigger gun, the Q-beam, which is like a kind of like a laser gun. But that's really about it for weapons. And then the weapon that I found myself using the most.
So you can't throw bees.
No, you can't throw bees. But
Dang.
you can do a variety
0
of
out
other
of 10.
cool things.
When do you turn into a coffee cup?
So, great question.
What?
So that was like their big thing in a lot of the trailers was like this mimic. So the mimic is one type of Typhon. So the Typhon are this alien menace that, this technology that they've brought is what you're studying. And you take their technology and you inject it into yourself through things called neuromods.
And you become a coffee cup.
Yes. So there are 6 different skill trees.
Just
you
what
start
I've always
the game.
wanted.
You start the game with three skill trees, which are like the human skill trees, and then at a certain point in the game, you unlock the 3 alien skill trees. And the first power that I unlocked in the alien skill trees was, of course, the mimic ability, where you can point your reticule at any object in the world and
So cool.
use like your mana or your PSI to transform into that object. And that
And that's
It's-
any object, right?
But
there's no.
why? Is it like it's for stealth?
yeah, so for stealth is the biggest reason, but I used it for the most to get into places where I couldn't fit. So for example, they have these security booths all over Talos, and they have this little window, like a pass through where you would like slide money or an envelope or something like at a bank. So like there's a giant glass wall and there's like a little pass through window. And so in order to get into the security office, to like get into the safe or to unlock the door, collect any loot that's in there, I would find something small either in my inventory if I had like a can of soda or something, or a coffee cup. And then you would look at the coffee cup and then you would shrink down into the coffee cup and then you kind of hop around.
Hop is the coffee
Yeah,
cup?
yeah.
Wait,
you can hop
so
around
this
and then
is
you
like
can
Beauty
roll
and the
too.
Beast role playing.
I
You could
wanna
be
do-
like Chip or
I want to
That's
do a
exactly
prey
what's
run.
going in my head.
I want to do a prey run where I play the entire second half when I unlock that skill tree just as
The coffee cup.
an object.
Well,
Like, is it
it's-
possible?
No, it's limited. So because it runs on like a
Aw.
mana system, you can
Oh.
only transform for a certain amount of seconds before you run out of your PSI, and then
How
you
fast
have to.
is it?
It's like the longest I think you can really be. I didn't upgrade that all the way, but I think it's like 15 or 20 seconds.
All right.
So not
you're gonna have to
long.
play it 15 to 20 seconds at a time.
And then you
Wait
would have
for your
to, you
mana
would-
to regen.
You would have
and
to
then-
find lots of PSI hypos. So like the way that it works is that there's these giant needles. It feels like it just feels so much like BioShock in that way. It's like,
Oh, like sticking
injecting
adamant,
your
yeah.
exactly.
Mm.
I'm
injecting
gonna
yourself.
try. I'm gonna try. Maybe I'll stream it.
It's
We'll see if
It'll
we
take
can-
like 300 hours because you'll have to wait and
Oh
then
my
just
gosh,
transform
yeah.
and then wait.
I did what I really loved about this game was the story and the world building. I think Arcane is really fantastic about it. I will say some of the combat instances really had me frustrated from a design perspective. And the autosave system is not great. You have to quick save constantly because there would be times when I would make a lot of progress through a level and I hadn't saved and I would die in an enemy encounter and then I would have to go back and do it all over again. It was
That's
super,
annoying.
super
No.
frustrating. And there's a large portion of the game that you spend outside the space station in a spacesuit, like floating around the exterior of the space station, looking for other entryways into the space station, looking for dead bodies that are floating out there because you're like, oh, I need to go grab this key card off of a body that's floating somewhere outside the space station. And the
Yum.
movement pace is so molasses slow, like super, super slow as you're moving through
It's hard
space.
to move in space.
I know, like it felt realistic, I guess, in that sense. But
I've
I
never
just
been to
got
space,
so bored. There was this one timed mission where I had to go find this guy who was locked inside of a crate and he was running out of air. And it was like the countdown timer was going, and I was panicking. I was like, "Oh my gosh, where's this guy?" And it's just like moving so slow in space.
You're like, I swear I'm going
"Oh
as
my
fast as I
God."
can.
I'm like, dude,
That
I'm
would
not
drive
trying
me
to let you
crazy.
die, I promise. So that was frustrating. But
Does it remind you of all of Dead Space, or is that like too far of a connection to try to make?
no, because I felt like Dead Space was more of a thriller than this game was.
Mhm.
This game was, definitely had thriller elements because you're pretty much alone almost the whole game. You do come across some NPCs, but you don't really spend much time with them. And so I felt like I really wasn't connected to any of them. And so it got to a point in the game where I was getting close to the end where I said, you know what? I don't really even care about going to do this thing for this NPC because I could kind of telegraph what was going to happen at the end of the game. And obviously I don't want to spoil anything for anybody. And then I was like, it kind of made me feel like maybe some of these missions were a waste of my time. And I think that's a problem that a lot of open world games sometimes can suffer from. And this isn't like a true open world game because it's like instanced areas instead of, being able to freely roam as you wish through the station. But it just kind of felt like they were throwaway relationships with some of the NPCs. And I felt like they could have made them more meaningful since they were so few and far between. The story that is between you and your brother is really interesting, and it has a really unique kind of twist at the end that made it redeeming. And I kind of left my experience with the game very torn because I wanted to finish it and I felt compelled to finish it, and I thought they did some really interesting things, but I have no desire to go back and ever attempt to play that game again because it was the combat was so maddeningly difficult. So these enemies that you're playing against, the Typhon, they are these kind of black stringy blob things that are in various forms. The little guys, the mimics, are the ones that kind of crawl on the ground like spider-like, and they jump on your face.
Oh no!
Like
Oh,
literally
nice.
that happens.
Delicious.
No.
And then they have the phantoms, which are more humanoid. They walk. They have arms, but they can like teleport to you. Arms. No, not those kind of arms. And then there's other ones like the Weaver, which is a floating kind of blob thing. And then they get more advanced. There's a telepath and a technopath. And then there's this thing called the Nightmare.
Oh, I wonder what that
Sounds
one
wonderful.
is like.
Yeah, no, its
Andrea,
name is
please
literally the Nightmare.
Tell.
And when you first come across the Nightmare, so the Nightmare is this giant beast of a Typhon that has been sent by like the Typhon overlords to come and take you out because they have discovered that you are putting their technology into your body, and they're like, we must kill that thing because they don't see you as an ally. As you increase the alien skill tree, you become more and more Typhon, and like there's these auto turrets around the space station that will start attacking you because you have so much Typhon in your blood. And so they send the Nightmare to put you down because they're like, what is this abomination half Typhon thing? You're not one of us. You must be stopped.
One of us.
And the first time you meet this character, you can't defeat him. You're not strong enough. You have to run. They say you can defeat it. It's like you must flee or defeat the Nightmare. And I attempted to defeat him.
And you were like,
no, not to be done.
Just run away.
But there's like a countdown clock, so you have to like escape from him for like 3 minutes.
Oh God.
Oh, that's
that's
terrible.
This game
too
sounds
long.
terrible.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
I hate
3
being timed. I hate
minutes?
countdown timers, but the game does
And
sound
I hate
interesting.
scary
and-
things chasing me.
Yeah.
For 3 minutes.
Yeah.
3 minutes.
No.
That's a long time to be stressed out.
Yeah, I was hopeful that this game maybe could have been a dark horse for, one of the top games of the year. And it just didn't quite make it there for me. And I was a little disappointed by that. But if you like dark and gritty, if you loved BioShock, if you have liked the worlds of Dishonored, then you might really like Prey. And it has some, really great aspects to it and some frustrating ones. Maybe if you're a more patient person and you like to stealth more, because I think really my biggest problem was I just wasn't stealthing quite enough. Then give it a try, check it out. There's a free demo, so if you guys don't want to buy it, if you want to just play the demo, that's available on
Did you play
Xbox One and PS4.
Dishonored, Andrea?
Yes, loved it.
So would you
Loved
say, because I didn't, I mean, I was kind of like mediocre on it, and one of the things that frustrated me about Dishonored was I was trying to stealth, but dear God, it was really hard. Like, for whatever reason, there would be, and especially because if I had died and like respawned into a safe-ish area, like I would sometimes respawn up on this balcony, but some dude like down the street and around the corner was alerted to me. And I'm like, how? Does this guy have X-ray glasses? I don't understand. So it mostly ended up with me murdering everyone, but it wasn't the way I wanted to play it. It was
High
just
chaos,
how
though. High
it
chaos.
happened to go, because I just couldn't seem to, no matter like how slowly, like I would legitimately be like, okay, we're really going stealth this time. Move like an inch at a time, like through this level, look around every corner, make sure, like pull myself over here.
Yes.
Okay, I'm still good. And yet it would never work out the way I wanted.
Everyone tries to be stealthy with Dishonored. Within 5 minutes, it's just pure chaos.
Yeah,
so
you're
you're
just
not
like,
alone.
Okay, screw it. I'm just murdering everyone. So my point was,
Just murdering everyone.
would you say Prey was or did you not even try to play Prey like that? Like, I'm just wondering, because they're made by Arcane. I was wondering if it's kind of similar.
There was nothing similar to the chaos system. I mean, there are some choices that you can make narratively that will determine, that will affect the outcome of the game, but nothing to the extent that Dishonored built in with the chaos system.
I'm not even talking about the chaos system. I just mean purely like,
From
did
the
you ever
stealth
find trying
perspective.
to play stealth and then being like, this isn't working? I have to go full balls out.
No, because you're so underpowered in that game, and the resources. That was one of my most frustrating parts of the game. The resources are so scarce. You're constantly having to scavenge. I felt like I was always out of bullets. And the wrench, like unless you upgrade your stamina and upgrade your health, you have this wrench and you can't upgrade the wrench. Like, it's never going to get more powerful.
It's just a wrench.
Well, I mean, there are things in the skill tree that will make your attacks more powerful, but the weapon itself doesn't do more damage.
Okay.
I felt like I was
Just a wrench,
always.
Andrea. It can only do so much.
I know, but like that's
Just a
why
wrench.
I always wanted to use my guns. But like it took so many bullets to put these enemies down, even in easy mode, that I was constantly having to craft bullets. And then in order to craft bullets, you need to collect this variety of resources, and it's not really clear, at first which resources you have to break down. So like the way that the crafting and the resource system works is throughout the world, you see things you pick up. You pick up a crumpled piece of paper, a banana peel. You pick up,
So it's
like
Skyrim.
Yeah, it's
Fallout.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're searching
Pick up garbage and you
you're
make something
you're
with it
searching
magically.
trash cans to pick up literal trash, and then you go to this machine called the recycler, and you put your items in there, and it breaks them down into the crafting materials. You collect the crafting materials, and then you have to go to another machine called the fabricator, and then each of the different items, your 9mm bullets, your shotgun shells, your batteries for your stun gun, all take a different recipe of the crafting items. And so then you have to look and see, okay, well, I need 2 more pieces of mineral material and another piece of like biomaterial. So I need to go find the things that I can then break down into and put in the recycler to get the raw materials I need to put into the fabricator to make the things that I need to just get through the next
That's
hallway.
a lot of steps.
It's very high maintenance.
Oh my gosh, it was infuriating after a while. And I can only imagine how difficult it must be on the harder difficulty modes. So, I mean, so yeah, it was a whole thing. This segment's gone on, of course, for too long. You guys, I have to tell you guys that are listening, our goal was to make these segments about 20 minutes each. Both of these segments have gone far beyond that. So apologies for that. But
we're working out the kinks.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for sticking with us.
It sounds like we're all gonna have to check out Prey, because now that you've talked so much about it, now I want to go and actually get into it so we can talk about this more.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it can go on the streaming
Pray
list as
book
well.
club.
Yeah.
Coffee cup run.
All right, so I think we should probably wrap up this hands-on segment. This is a segment I think, we'll all be looking forward to every week because talking about what we're playing is, one of the reasons why we wanted to do this show. So let's take another quick break and we will head into our grab bag section.
Oh.
Are back with our grab bag segment, and this week we have to devote this entire segment to Destiny 2. The big reveal of the gameplay happened today. Both Steimer and I were in Los Angeles at the Jet Center for the event and got hands-on with multiple modes in Destiny 2. So,
that's good.
Ladies,
Yeah, talk about it.
Yeah, so I actually, before we get into our hands-on with Destiny, what did you two think of the or Alexa, let's start with you. What did you think of the presentation? You're not a big Destiny player.
I did not play Destiny. I looked at it for maybe 20 minutes. I didn't play it. I'm going to play Destiny 2. I feel like, it'd be an interesting perspective, one, to get someone who's going into Destiny 2 without having played Destiny 1, but two, everyone I know plays it or is still playing it or played it for a while, so I feel like I would like to.
You want to be part of the club.
I want to be part of the club.
Yeah.
I want to be part of the cool club.
Clan.
What about you,
kids
Britt?
Club.
I love. Oh, did you say Britt? I'm sorry.
Sorry, yeah, no, I did. I thought you were done.
Oh no, I thought it
you
was
not
a
done?
really
You got
good
more to say?
presentation, but it looks like, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I did not play Destiny. It looks like Destiny 1.5.
We'll get
That
to
is
that
not
in a,
incorrect, but yes.
Okay.
We'll get to that in a second. Britt, what did you think?
So I love Destiny for the cooperative aspect. I don't do PvP, so I like to go through the story with a friend or friends if I have any that month, and just kind of explore around. I like to explore the areas, and I like to find treasure and just kind of dink around. I feel like it's a really good game to lose yourself in. And where I always burned out, because I've gone through Destiny twice now, is when there's no fresh content. I can only do the strikes so many times. I don't even know what they're called. The things where you have to go through like 3 or 4 waves before you get to the end. It's cooperative, 3 players. I don't remember the name.
Are you thinking about Prison of Elders?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm thinking of. I like doing that kind of stuff, but PvP isn't my thing. So when they were talking about exploration and how it's supposed to be these vast new big worlds and so much bigger than the other maps, that's what got me really excited. I kind of tuned out some of the PvP stuff because, like I said, I just don't care. But I'm excited about the co-op stuff, and the maps and exploration is where I'm all jazzed.
Okay, that's fair. Steimer, you had said that you weren't really into PvP either, that you also liked the PvE components of the game. How far into Destiny did you play again?
I think I have 2 characters that are the level cap, not the light level cap, because
it's really
they're
difficult
just
to get.
The OG level cap, like
So level 40.
Yeah. So I leveled to that, played for a little while longer, saw the grind, because again, I've played a lot of MMOs, so I'm like, I recognize what you're doing here, and I don't feel like doing it, so I quit.
That's fair. It's the grind is not for everybody. I've played all the way up through the current content. I did all of the expansions, and I've been playing in the Age of Triumph. Rise of Iron was great. Not as good as Taken King, which was clearly the best of the expansions. But I think, I was personally super hype. If you guys follow me on Twitter, you saw my enthusiasm about Destiny 2. I've played many hours, hundreds and hundreds of hours of Destiny, and I love it. I love all aspects of it. It took me a while to get into PvP, I'll fully admit. But practice makes perfect, as we were talking about in the first segment when we were talking about arms. But I think they did some really great things with the announcement today. I think that they added some things that the community really wanted. I think adding the map and having these more discoverable adventures that they talked about looks good. I made the joke that, wow, I can't believe that it took them this long to get a map in the game.
I don't understand that. Yeah. I don't want to dwell on it, but anyway, yeah. I'm thrilled that we have a map finally, because before I'd have to go to YouTube and be like, okay, how do I get to like this drop? And I'd cluster.
Yeah, it was bad. And then not having to go to orbit, between picking activities is also another thing. I think the big announcement today was guided games. This idea that you can kind of matchmake with people within the game itself without having to use like a third-party app or another website to kind of get your fire team together. Because one of the biggest problems about doing some of the best content in Destiny, Nightfalls, raids, Prison of Elders, is that you have to have somebody on your friends list who's going to play with you, because you can't do, public matchmaking. And now they're, fixing that. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see how the new clan system will work in Destiny. I'm part of a clan right now on PS4, and most of my clan stopped playing after the Taken King, which was kind of a bummer for me, because I really enjoyed, particularly the Iron Banner stuff that came around with Rise of Iron, and I really didn't have anybody to play with. And, I trying to get through the 390 raids was almost impossible. I've only done one. I've only done the Vault of Glass at 390, because I just can't get 6 people or 5 people plus myself together to sit down and do it. And so I'm really looking forward to that. I do want to let everybody listening and watching know we're going to have a separate Destiny video. Your questions answered by Bungie. A bunch of you sent us questions on Twitter. I sat down with their head of community along with Steimer, and we grilled them and we asked them the questions. And we have some really great gameplay capture of the new strike, the Inverted Spire, and of the PvP mode that they announced, and that you guys can check that out. It will be going up later this weekend. But Steimer, we both got hands-on with this first story mission in the campaign. Ooh. What did you think?
Felt like Destiny.
Felt like the same.
Felt like kind of the same. And that's the thing that I guess I was puzzled by. And because to me, when marketing comes out and beats the drum of 2, right? They're like, Destiny 2,
Look at that big ass 2.
Look at that big ass, exactly. Like 2. Look at that big ass 2. That makes you want to think that this is something far beyond what the original was. And I just didn't feel that way. They had some great additions, don't get me wrong, like the map. Great, you have a map, like genius. And then, you added clans, which to me, I guess Destiny 1 felt like they were building a first-person shooter MMO by people who hated MMOs. To me, because like they didn't add in any of the elements of like you randomly get to meet people and make friends and like enjoy each other's company. And I think they just went too far with the everybody's toxic mentality. Because I personally, playing MMOs, haven't really actually found a lot of that. I mean, once you start to go to the more competitive stuff, sure. But when you're out in the world, most people aren't going to be mean to you. They're just trying to also find something cool like you are. And in Destiny, there was not a lot of that because they didn't have a map. They didn't really have anything to do. You're just kind of wandering around. Hoping.
Yeah, and you're right. That was certainly a problem. I mean, they put in some more unique patrols in these kind of public instance areas, throughout the various years and the, expansions and stuff that they added, but it still was not close to, some of the great MMOs that are out there. And, it's a hybrid game. They call it a shared world shooter. I never felt compelled to interact with anybody in the, PvE elements. I felt like I was doing that content purely to get to different gear that I could then take into the more cooperative elements, the strikes, prison of
Yeah.
elders, the raids, PvP, you know, like I would grind to get exotics or grind to get some of the legendary weapons or gear because it made me more powerful in other parts of the game. And I think they've recognized that, and that's why they're, you know, going to make these, you know, open world areas more interesting and going to add more public things and kind of give you like the treasure map thing that they were talking about, how, oh, we're going to give you a reason to go on this adventure and explore
Right.
this part of the world because you're going to get a piece of loot at the end of it. I think that those changes all sound good. I think the kind of criticism that it feels like Destiny 1.5 is fair. As much as I'm excited for Destiny and I love Destiny now, so Destiny 1.5 is totally a-okay with me. I get that it's a tough sell, especially when Luke Smith comes on stage and says, you know, we lost like 50% of our players doing most of the content. We want to get people back.
50?
Yeah, so they said
For the end game content.
for like the best like
Wow.
raids and things like that. So they, you know, like a lot of the drop off was steep for them, and a lot of people, you know, played vanilla Destiny and were like, this is terrible, and left and never came back.
Vanilla Destiny.
Right?
Yep.
And
They call it.
and like no matter how much I was like, but it's better now, guys. Like the grind is not so bad. People are like, nah, I got other stuff to play. And I think
Yeah.
they didn't do a good enough job of selling why Destiny 2 should get them excited, because I quite frankly, the story is only compelling if you are involved in the world already. Like I got really moved and got chills watching those cinematics because I've spent so much time with these characters and spent so much time in the world, but they don't need to sell me on Destiny. They need to
Right.
sell people
They need to
like
sell me.
Steimer and
Like
Britt
me.
and Alexa, right? They need to sell you
Yeah.
guys on a reason why you either want to start it for the first time or like you two, you want to come back to it and enjoy, you know, those elements that you experienced. And I don't think they quite did that. And that's disappointing because I have so much love for this franchise. I wanted other people to be excited about it, and they just weren't. I mean,
Yeah.
Summer, I'd like to know from you, like, what do you think they could have done differently to maybe gotten you a little bit more excited?
The one thing I thought was sort of strange, and maybe it's not for you as a seasoned Destiny player, but when I think of like 2, brand new game, new shit, I think new class. Like I was expecting a new Guardian type to emerge somehow from all of this. And for them to be like, no, we're really just doubling down on these subclasses. I was disappointed. Like, I want more. I want different things. I want somebody who looks new and shiny so that maybe going back and re-leveling somebody won't feel as stale or like samey. Because they all still look the same. They all have the exact same profile. Yes, the gear that they showed off looked pretty cool. But the one problem I always kind of had with Destiny is I didn't feel like you could really look super different. And not, again, like you can have like purple crazy shoulders, but you all sort of have a similar aesthetic, whereas I'm used to extreme vanity MMOs like Guild Wars 2, where you can look like crazy different from the next person, even if you're the same class. You could be like very scantily clad, or you can be completely armored up. So those are the types of things that I like to visually look at or play or achieve, you know, goals towards. And then this is sort of a random tangent, but when we were talking about the map of the world, and you were saying like now they're trying to add more stuff, and the carrot at the end of the stick is loot again. For me, it doesn't always need to be loot. Don't get me wrong. I think that loot was something that Destiny 1 kind of screwed up, and they didn't do it right. Didn't do it white. But again, I keep going back to Guild Wars 2, but I just think they did world building really well. And it's just sometimes nice to explore and find something, and you don't get anything for it necessarily, but you find something cool. So like maybe you're diving underwater and then you come up in this underground cave and you know you find another player there and it's like, oh hey, this is really neat. Like, when do you find this? But you can't ever have a moment like that in Destiny. Because number one, you couldn't talk to the other person.
You can dance with them,
you
though.
can
You can
emote.
dance with them, but you're not going to have that sort of same interaction. Or if you're having trouble figuring out where something is, there was never that ability to get help. Like I've often in Guild Wars just done like map chat. I'm like, hey, I'm looking for blah, blah, blah. Someone will be like, cool, somebody
Blah, 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 blah,
comes and helps me. Like somebody escorted me like to the thing I was trying to find. And so like that, and those are the moments for shared games that I live for. Like those are the moments that get me excited because I'm like, oh, this like gives me the warm fuzzies, and I feel like this is a community. We're all working together towards something, or we're all willing to help each other out. So when you're just cut off the way that you were in Destiny, it just felt very lonely. And so the only time you really had that connection was with people you already know, and that's great. And I do really enjoy that. But it gets tiresome after a while, especially when you only have a certain number of strikes or whatever, and then you have to just keep doing that over and over again. You're not going to keep people's attention for long.
Yeah, I mean,
I think,
go ahead, Britt.
I think what they need to do to get more people involved that aren't the Andreas, who aren't super into it already, because I do agree with you. I think this presentation was very much geared toward you. You knew everything that was happening. You knew what these special abilities were. You knew how significant it was to have a map, or how cool it is to have treasure and bosses now, and clans and matchmaking and all that stuff. But a lot of people, I think, still don't know what the hell Destiny even is, because it's the shared shooter, like you said, and it's kind of this new genre that is being like invented as it goes. And I think that's why the first Destiny, great ideas, just some issues because no one had really traversed this path before. So I think what would help is if this presentation was great for Destiny fans, but if they had a separate presentation, probably won't ever happen. But we're like, hey, this is what Destiny is. This is what you can do. Destiny is this. You can do this. You can do this. And hold the hand of the potential players so they know what they're getting into. I think that would help.
Or being like have a hardcore re-recruiting sort of a conference where, I mean, they don't call it that, but, being like, we hear you, like, the grind sucked. Because, like, even though you say they fixed it on Taken King, I didn't play it. So I don't know what they fixed. Like, so they need to sort of re-educate players like me who've lapsed and show like, hey, we know that these were pain points. They're now fixed because of X, Y, Z.
Right.
Please come back. Like, please come back and play our game.
Okay. Yeah. So it's like a communication and marketing problem. I can buy that. I think obviously we need to see a lot more. All day today, Steimer and I kept getting asked by other people who were at the event. So what do you think? What do you think you guys have gotten to play? And I was the first thing that I said was that I need to see way more. The mission that we played was probably like 15 minutes at best.
The single player,
yeah, the PvP match that we played with the new 4v4, which I do not like, was another
but that was
10 minutes.
That was circumstantial. That was not necessarily because of the.
Even when we played on, so just a little backstory. When you guys watched the PvP footage in our other video, I apologize. We got wrecked because we were playing against known PvP Destiny streamers. Hey, thanks for that matchup. There are some really cool deaths that I have, though, because they killed me in very unique and creative ways.
They were real good. They were really good.
But yeah, so that was a really short experience. And then the most amount of time we spent with the game was with this new strike. And we waited for this appointment for a really long time, and people kept talking about how difficult the strike was. They're like, oh my gosh, the strike is so hard. And then we both get up there and we're like, that wasn't hard. That was pretty easy,
it was
actually.
Super easy. Yeah.
But there was, through all of those experiences, nothing in any of those felt really fresh and new. And that was disappointing. So I'm super excited to play this game, and I'm going to put a lot of hours into it. But I agree with you, Steimer. I think that they didn't take it far enough, and I think it's not fair to a $60 consumer to say, well, we have more additional content coming in an expansion pass. Obviously they have more to show. They're saving,
they don't have that much time though.
They don't. They have E3 though, and they have potentially
they have Bungie Day.
Bungie Day, maybe Gamescom, but I just don't know. They touted today on stage that there's going to be more content than they've ever made before. But we were talking about how that bar is so low because the content that was there from a campaign standpoint was pretty bare.
More content than in any other Destiny game.
Plus, that's not hard. You better put more in.
Exactly. Plus, I love the marketing speak because it could literally be like 20 minutes more. It's not it's so much more, but it's really not. You can fudge with words.
And I
know that game.
I went into this event making jokes about how, oh, when we do the segment tonight, everyone's gonna call me a Destiny shill. They're gonna be like, oh, Activision pays her to talk about Destiny. And then I walked. I was fully prepared to be like, yes, this is the best. This is the tits. I am ready. Let's go D2. But no, I walked away kind of feeling, like I enjoyed my time with the game, but like I was like, oh, okay, like this is cool, but like I'm not, no one's blowing up my skirt. So like, what's going on?
Honestly, I feel like I feel deja vu coming. I feel like I will get this game. I will play this game. I will enjoy this game for a little while. I will never touch this game again. Like, I feel like I see that path laying out before me. I'm okay with it. Because, like, I do think it's a solid, well-built game. Like, the mechanics are good. It's fun to shoot things. Yeah. It'll be fun to shoot things with you guys.
Oh, boy.
But at some point, it's going to overstay its welcome. They aren't showing me the legs it needs in order to keep me coming back to play more.
Yeah. Well, listen, if you guys want to see more about Destiny and learn the answers to some of the questions that you guys sent us on Twitter about, leveling and gear and some other stuff, you can check out our extra video. And if you guys have any other questions, if you want to know more about Destiny, feel free to reach out, to me individually. Happy to chat Destiny with you because I am obviously a Destiny fangirl. So,
yes, you are.
We're going to wrap up this grab bag segment, but just so you guys know, from here on out, this segment is going to kind of be free form. We might do what we did today and talk about one specific game. We might, take a random question that you guys send in. We might talk about, an abstract topic in the video game space, but it's going to be kind of free form, and we hope you are on board with that. So, all right, let's take one more short break and then we'll go into off topic. Welcome back to our final segment of the show tonight. So, off topic. This is a little bit on topic because we decided, since it's our first show and there's a lot of people out there that don't know all of us, a lot of our fans and you guys who are patrons of ours, or if you found us on Twitter or Facebook, have kind of come to us and said, hey, I know Steimer, she's really cool, but I don't know those other girls. Or, oh my God, Alexa's my bae, but like, who's the blonde chick that drinks whiskey all the time? So we decided, hey, so for those people out there that aren't familiar with all of us, we do like a kind of quick rundown of who we are and kind of like what we've done and where you might know us from, to kind of catch everybody up. So hopefully you stick around for the rest of us, and you're here for one person in particular. That's awesome. Thank you for being a fan, and hopefully you like the rest of us too. So let's start with Britt.
Hello.
You first. Hello.
I am the blonde girl who drinks a lot of whiskey. That is my shtick. That is what I bring to this podcast. Real quick, my story is that I worked at a really annoying government job with a lot of very unhappy people, and the negative energy there was far too much for me, and it drove me crazy, and I felt like my life was going in circles, like I had no control over it. I was commuting 3 hours a day, working 10 hours a day.
Yikes.
And it was terrible. And so, but looking back on it, it was the best thing that could have happened to me because it drove me to find some sort of outlet, some sort of release. So I started blogging about video games one day, and for the first time in my life, a fire lit under my ass, and I was like, oh my God, life is so exciting. I found something that makes me feel like I'm being productive. And then I met a bunch of people. This was on the old IGN blogs, by the way.
You met me.
I did meet you. You were head of Xbox at the time?
Yeah.
That was back in the day. And through that, my love of blogging turned into, I think I'm going to start my own website, which turned into one day I want to go to E3, which turned into, I love doing this so much, and I'm just going to keep working on my brand. And that's kind of I'm a one-woman operation, just been doing the whole website solo shindig since 2011, go to conventions across this great country and cover them and make weird videos and make weird faces and drink a lot of whiskey. And that's ultimately how I met everyone on this podcast.
That's awesome.
Yes, that's true.
And you also run an amazing empire of your own.
Thank you.
Which
That's
I think
very
is like super awesome. And one of the reasons why I was super excited about working with you on this project, because there's not many people that have the motivation and the hustle to create something from scratch and really stick with it and to build that brand and to keep, you know, reinvesting in yourself. And I think that that's really awesome. So I just want to give you some,
Thank you.
some props. So Alexa.
Oh gosh.
Alexa Ray Korea, everybody.
Me.
I mispronounced
yeah.
her last name so wrong for so long.
It's like the country.
Ooh.
Korea.
And
You know
that's
what?
what
I
you-
actually never knew that either, so I'm
yeah,
glad you
it's
said it.
Korea like the country. Geez. So I was also like Brittany, working a job that was like really not great, but was comfortable because it was a job.
Paychecks are nice.
And I was actually working in higher education administration. I was the administrator of the English department at Boston University, where I graduated. So I was doing that, and it was really boring. And I started blogging about video games. And in January 2012, Vox Media put out the call for submissions to a game website that they were looking to launch, and they were looking for new writers. And I applied and forgot about it. And nothing happened. And then 6 months later, I quit that job and was like, I'm going to start over. I'm going to put all my junk in my house where my family lives and, you know, a couple states away, regroup, and then figure out what I'm going to do. And literally the day that I handed in my notice to the department, I got a call from Vox, and I ended up being a part of the launch team at Polygon.com. And I was there until fall 2014 when I moved out here to join GameSpot. And I was there for a while. As like, if you're familiar with my writing, you know I really like Japanese games and JRPGs, but I did a lot of long form features, and I ran a news show for a while. So I've been in the circuit for a long time. And I left last fall to get some management experience, of which I was recently let go from. Funny story.
Downsizing happens. It's
Downsizing
actually
happens. It was
quite frequent in this business.
Yeah, it was
That's
a thing. It was not like I did not set anyone on fire. Nothing bad happened. But I'm sort of you know, doing like other things now. I've done some consulting on the side. I wrote this book. And Andrea, you've been talking about doing something like this for like months now, because we live 5 minutes apart from each other. So we've been like, why don't we stream? We could just keep drinking and watching Lord of the Rings.
Alexa and I have a wine problem. I also enjoy whiskey, along with Britt.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'd been talking about doing it. I mean, you and I met at probably at like a PAX party or something.
Like a very long time ago.
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember life before, like.
I remember being like
Life
super
before Andrea.
intimidated by you.
What?
Because like you were like the girl who wrote for Polygon. I was like, oh my god, you guys, she writes for Polygon.
I was the goober that wrote for Polygon. I'm such a goober.
Because I don't really write. I have written a few pieces. Most of the writing that I do is broadcast writing, so script writing. So I do write quite a bit, but I don't write long form features. I was going to say features, and then I was going to say pieces, and it came out features. I don't write long form pieces. I don't write reviews. I have written a couple previews when I was at the Escapist. I did some actual writing. I'm sorry, Greg Tito, that you had to edit those. I was constantly changing tense, and he was like, "Hey, do you know how grammar works?" And I'm like, "Ooh, don't hate me."
Greg Tito.
Theoretically, yes.
Because I was used to writing scripts that I would say out loud in the tense that you
Right.
speak in when you're speaking for yourself versus what you, I mean, we don't need to go into the
Yeah,
specifics, but I was bad at it. But anyway, I am so glad that you said, yes, let's do this. Like, I think that you bring such an amazing energy and knowledge to the show. And
Yes.
you are going to teach me all about Japan in ways that I have never explored.
We're going to go. All four of us are going to go.
The dream trip is for all of us
We're
to get to
going.
go and
One
do some content
day.
there. But Fans of mine know that I don't play a lot of, hardcore Japanese games. I don't play JRPGs. I've been very vocal about that. Not that they're bad games. I just never have been drawn to them. They're just not like the game that's like, ooh, that looks cool. I'm more interested in other types of games.
Don't you want to relive high school?
I mean,
Do some
not
laundry?
really. No, I had a really rough time in high school. Like most
I
of
know,
us
I hated
probably
high school
did.
too.
That's another grab bag segment.
But
That'd be good.
Another person who likes Japanese games. That's probably the way I should say that. Is Christine Steimer, otherwise known as Steimer.
Oh, it's me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have probably had the most variety of jobs of this group. And I think that's just because I can never make up my mind. So I got the job in the industry due to a senior class project. So I majored in corporate communications, which is essentially PR, fancier term for PR. Did it on the Xbox launch, then got in with that team, interned, got the job on the team. So I started doing PR for Microsoft Game Studios.
You mean the Xbox 360 launch?
Yes. Yeah.
I was like, you
360
are
launch.
not that old.
Yeah, sorry. Not the OG, just the 360. And I did that job for a couple years and hated it. It was like sucking the life out of my soul. But during that time, I'd become friends with people at IGN, and I somehow managed to convince them to hire me and I didn't start out as an editor. I started out as, I can't remember what it was called. Sort of, I don't know, like the mom. I was the mom of the group, but it was not that title. I just can't remember what the title was off the top of my head.
Like a
but
production
I'd keep
coordinator?
everybody organized. Something like that. Again, that wasn't it either, but along those lines. And eventually I went from that job to running the Xbox channel. And I actually launched Podcast Unlocked with Ryan Clements and Arthur Gies. And I don't know, I don't think anybody remembers that.
I remember that. I do. I listened to a few episodes of that, man.
Yeah, and I
She's
was
your number one fan.
It's such a big podcast now, and I always want to be like, I came up with this name. I started this podcast. You never invite me back.
Ungrateful.
I know.
It's
anyway.
okay. We'll do our own version here. I'll call up Phil Spencer. He sent us our congratulations on the launch of the show.
Aw.
So we'll try to get him on the show. We'll recreate it, and then we'll be like, in your face, IGN.
We'll call it Podcast Locked.
In your face.
Yeah.
That's not clever at all.
During that time is when I met Britt, like we mentioned before. I'd met her through the blog, so I just saw her and I was like, this chick's crazy and I like her. So we started talking, yeah. and then she also loved Alistair as much as I did, so that was a bonus. Then I went to BioWare Social, so I tried game design for a little bit, but it was not AAA game design. It was like Facebook social games game design. That game never saw the light of day. Want. And then I switched to PlayStation, which I think IGN and PlayStation are the two places people would know me from. And I did the PlayStation Plus videos, which was my more outward-facing thing at that company. Then I went to CD Projekt Red. Did community stuff for them too, so sort of similar to what I was doing at PlayStation. And then I left, and now I'm here.
Yeah, you are.
You're also running your own Twitch channel,
That's
Steimer
true.
says.
Yeah, so I started my own channels and stuff. I was never really like thrilled about it in the sense that like I've never wanted to be a solo content creator. I completely admire the fact that, like you said before, that Britt has made this empire the way she has, and she's stuck with it as long as she has, because it's hard. It's really hard to motivate yourself. It's really hard when you feel like you're not getting anywhere. And it's just hard to do all the work. It's just hard. So I did it mostly because I didn't have a lot of other choices at the time. And I was like, well, I guess I'll just do it myself. So yeah, I have, don't go to steimersays.com. It has been taken over. It's some sort of malware site now. Don't go there.
No,
What?
really?
How?
I remember I helped you set up that website. Damn.
Don't go there. Because yeah, it's a long story, but
Yeah, just don't do it.
Whoa.
don't go there. But I
It's
still
okay
do
because
YouTube
you have
sometimes.
what'sgoodgames.com.
Now I have What's Good Games now, so it's way
Yeah.
better because this is what I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted like a cool group of people to hang out with,
Aw.
and make content.
You've got us. We're here. We're in this together.
We're a
Yeah.
team.
Well, awesome. Well, thanks for sharing your story. When Steimer was here in San Francisco before she moved down to Los Angeles, we used to be petty and brunch pals.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we'd get pedicures and go to brunch and drink mimosas that were far
Drink
too
a-
large.
I thought you meant you were
Yeah.
petty at brunch.
Oh,
petty.
no. Well, there
No,
was a
wait,
little bit
no,
of
wait, what?
pettiness.
I don't know,
but-
like
Oh,
petty.
petty.
Like
Yeah.
Okay.
I like that better
Yeah.
though. Petty.
That's the life.
No, I mean when we did our fair share of gossiping as friends are
Yes.
wont to do, but yeah, I missed hanging out with you. So I felt like the only way that we could force hangout time since you live in a different city is to make a show together. So
Yeah, it
Here
worked
we
out
are.
really well.
it did.
I actually wanted to tell the story of how I met Alexa because I remember it vividly.
Uh-oh.
Oh my
It's-
God.
It's super
Alexa's
short. Super short.
expression.
I have
It's
real
not
bad
even-
long-term memory loss, so like I don't.
It's not that bad, and it's super short.
Okay.
So I just remember it was at one of the bars near Dolores Park, I think. It was a big group of media people because we all hang out together. And I remember seeing you, and I had watched you on Polygon. And so I went up to you and I was like, hey, I've watched your videos. And I remember you going, I'm so sorry.
Yes.
Okay, I remember that.
And like that's what sticks out in my head is the fact that you were like, I'm so sorry you had to watch me. And I was like, what? I didn't know what to do. I was like, I
Well,
liked
now-
watching your videos.
Now we get to watch each other
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah.
in a not creepy way.
Well, I mean, we have to edit the video, so some of us have to watch each other a little bit more
Oh boy.
True.
in a kind of creepy way. Sorry.
Sorry.
Um,
What about you, Miss Andrea? Give us your little elevator story of life.
Well, I've been doing this for quite some time, so I don't want to go through the whole story because, when we were talking about what to kind of say for this segment, I'm like, I feel like I've told that story on so many other outlets already. But basically, like, I went to school for broadcast journalism. It was always my dream to be Mary Hart. I loved Entertainment Tonight growing up. So I got a broadcast degree. I moved to Los Angeles to pursue entertainment news. And I was doing red carpets and junkets and all kinds of stuff when I was trolling the Craigslist for auditions. And I saw an audition for a reporter for E3. And as a lifelong gaming fan, of course, the idea of going to E3 is like super exciting. So I applied and they said, we can't pay you, but we can give you a badge. And I said, I'm in. And that was my very first video games job, which, I don't recommend taking jobs for free, but sometimes you gotta, put some work in to get the experience to get the job that will pay you down the road. And so that kind of kicked off this idea in my head that, oh my gosh, like I can actually work as a reporter in video games and not just entertainment news. And so I started looking for more video game opportunities, and that's when I got my job hosting This Week in Video Games on thisweekend.com, one of the original podcast networks way back in the day, ran by the same site as Mahalo. Mahalo Video Games is where I met some of my friends who now work at Smosh. So Hinky, Jovenjire, Lasercorn, Flitz, those guys, we all worked together at Mahalo Video Games. And then from there, I moved to Clever Games and started a YouTube channel there and built that out of scratch. And I, hired Sohinki and Lasercorn to come and run that channel with me. And it kind of ballooned into this big thing. And I left to go pursue a more creative development role at Machinima because that was in their heyday as an MCN. And then I ended up leaving Machinima because they made some dramatic changes in a really short period of time and wasn't really what I had envisioned my role there being. And I went back to work with Clever, which had now become part of Alloy Digital, which now is known as Defy Media, and worked there. And that's where I got to work with The Escapist and really meet a lot of those people who worked out of the Durham office and met some really great folks, got to, meet guys like Jim Sterling and Yahtzee, who are just lovely, lovely people. They play big brash voices on the internet, but they are both softies. And then I, when Defy acquired Game Trailers from Viacom, I got to meet Brandon and his whole team and work with, Jeff Keighley on Bonus Round and do a bunch of really cool projects there and be part of that team. And then sadly, Like a lot of things happen. People have accused me of when I tell the story of, they're like, oh my gosh, she's such a job hopper. And I'm like, no, I'm not a job hopper. Like these projects end. Like the contracts either ended or the outlets were eliminated or downsized. And like when you work in games media, unless you work for one of like the big 3 outlets, I mean, you kind of got to like bootstrap your way into a position because they just don't stick around long. And that's just the sad truth of it. And especially now with the rise of Twitch and YouTube, it's even more splintered and fractured than it used to be. So after kind of game trailers got shut down by Defy, which was devastating for a lot of us out there who are fans of game trailers, so glad to see, you know, Brandon and all the guys, you know, over at Easy Allies. We're hopefully going to be doing some collabs with them, Patreon friends of ours. And I kind of was like, what am I, you know, what's my next kind of editorial venture going to be? And I've been doing some kind of gun for hire mercenary type work with a variety of outlets. I got to do a cool contract with Yahoo Esports where I helped them launch their channel. Last year, I started a show at Playboy Gaming at Gamer Next Door called G&D Weekly, which was fun. And sadly, that editorial department also got shut down. And then I also got to work with people like IGN. I did some GameSpot stuff for E3 and, you know, guest hosted on so many podcasts and internet shows. And I've just been, you know, really grateful that I've gotten to meet so many people in this industry along the way, including you ladies. And so a lot of times throughout this career of mine, I've been asked, like, you know, you work for so many different people and it feels like you have to constantly hustle to get the next thing. Why don't you just start your own thing? And like Steimer, I was just never motivated to start my own thing because I knew exactly how much work it was because I'd started other brands and tried to build other brands at several of these other outlets that I'd worked at. I was just like, that's a massive job that I just can't imagine taking on by myself. So when, you know, I kind of floated the idea to you girls and we, you know, kind of tossed it around for a month or two. And then finally I was like, hey, do we actually like want to do it? Do we want to like, you know, put our foot down and say, this is the month we're going to make it happen? I was super excited. And now here we are, we're doing our own thing. And obviously, you know, we are incredibly grateful for all of the subscribers and patrons that we have on patreon.com. We would not be here, you know, without you. We'd be doing the audio podcast, but certainly the video probably wouldn't be here.
Nope, that's true.
You know, and having that platform as a way for us to be able to create content directly for the people who have followed our careers has been so great, but it still isn't obviously enough for us to pay our rent and to pay our other bills and to get health insurance and all these things that come along with being an adult.
Very expensive.
So what that means for us is, you know, that we still all have other things going on. We're all still working with other outlets and doing other gigs. And I think that's going to do nothing but contribute to the, you know, the kind of experience and the voice and the perspective that we bring to the show. So
Absolutely.
I think I'm done. I think I'm done rambling now.
That was good. That was a good ramble.
That was good.
Thanks.
I liked it.
It was a good
But I also want to
ramble.
say, just adding on to what you were saying, like, yes, we love and thank all of our patrons, but I do want to reiterate, like, if you're listening and you aren't a patron, that's okay. Like,
Yeah,
you know, like
absolutely.
we appreciate you. The fact that you're listening to this podcast, patron or no, like, thank you so much.
And you
for the
made
fact
it to
that you
this
downloaded
point
this.
almost
Yeah,
2
exactly.
hours in.
Yeah.
You stuck with us through the weird Japanese talk and everything.
We have some really cool stuff planned that we would love to do.
We do.
We hopefully, you know, will, you know, get to meet you guys and create a cool community and talk to you on the Facebook page and in the Patreon comments and in the YouTube comments and on Twitter. Please reach out to us. If you guys are watching the video, you can see some of our links below. But if you're listening, you can follow us on Twitter at whatsgood_games. We are on Instagram at whatsgoodgamesofficial. You can go to our website, whatsgoodgames.com, and of course our Patreon, patreon.com/whatsgoodgames, and then our YouTube channel, youtube.com/whatsgoodgames. So we're going to be doing lots of stuff. We really want you guys to get involved. You know, thank you so much for being here. We also have to give another shout out to Dale North for the awesome podcast music that he composed for us.
So good.
He is
Thank
wonderful, and the music that he made for us is fantastic. So thank you again, Dale, for that. And yeah, we I think that's a wrap for our first show,
We
ladies.
did
Did
it.
we do it?
I think
we
we
did
did.
it.
Did
Go
it.
team.
All right. Well, we will be back next week with another show. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great weekend.